Lena and goes to confront her at the club, the choice of music was significant for the scene. Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus is clearly Western music and indicative of a changing, modernizing society, and as such is associated negatively with the Gangsters Club. However, it also serves to heighten the expectation of confrontation, especially since the viewer is aware that Sasha has brought a weapon, in this case, brass knuckles, with him to the club. Sasha's body language casts him squarely in opposition to the modernization undermining traditional Soviet society. He sits alone and apart, distant from the club. His clothes are not flashy Western clothes or a gangster's trench coat, but rather neat, almost dressy clothes. The scene is important in the context of his character development because Sasha shows himself to be first and foremost a man of action, willing to seize the initiative and fight for what is his. He demonstrates some of the characteristics which will propel him to succeed as a gangster. In this way, according to Mason, we can understand Sasha's pursuit of a gangster career as a reaction to the disappearance of traditional, vertical, patriarchal authority and, quote, the turmoil of a modern society that has no conviction in its values, social structures, and ideologies, end quote. The scene at the club initiates a chain reaction that gives rise to the two narrative lines. First, Sasha is framed and forcibly expelled from decomposing society. Abandoned by the state he served, he swears his exclusive loyalty to his gangster brothers. Second, Sasha meets and marries Olya, a new Russian woman who is the opposite of Lena. She is cultured, family-oriented, and has a face fit for a classical 19th century portrait. For the remainder of the narrative, Sasha's new Russian masculinity will be enunciated through the two incompatible and equally important genre models, the ultra-masculine excess of the gangster film and the family melodrama. The series becomes a perfect genre vehicle for working out as well as fantasizing about new male agency. In the place of a stable public identity defined by state service, there emerges a relationship with a problematic, morally ambiguous power structure, which in Brigade is represented by Sasha's handlers from the KGB and the government. In the absence of a state capable of providing for his family, Sasha must become his family's sole protector and provider. The absence of viable father figures to whom Sasha can turn for guidance compounds this problem. As Bayer notes, Sasha attempts to overcome this through the substitution of absent patriarchs with historical role models such as Alexander the Great, but ultimately it is Sasha's intentions rather than his actions which construct the new social role of the post-Soviet patriarch in the nuclear family. These intentions are expressed in two ways. First, Sasha allows Olya to raise their son Ivan on her own because he wants him to grow up with the same high culture background that she did. Secondly, he explicitly states to Olya that their son will not end up like him and that he will be a human being. While this is also an expression of guilt in his lifestyle, it can be interpreted as an expression of Sasha's desire for Ivan to have the opportunity to pursue the life the protagonist could not. As Bayer writes, quote, Sasha seems to be motivated by a desire to provide a better life for his wife and son, end quote. Given the chaotic circumstances of the 1990s, the only way Sasha can manage this is through his own initiative and agency. Ultimately, Sasha fails in both of his patriarchal roles as a mafia boss and as a family man. His failure becomes inevitable when he succumbs to the gangster culture of, quote, unlimited and excessive modes of action and desire fulfillment, end quote. The intrusion of iconography of one narrative into the other signals the tension within the series narrative and epitomizes Sasha's existence on the threshold of two lifestyles, that of the gangster family and that of the traditional nuclear family. This is particularly evident in the scene depicting a classical music concert where the music usually associated with Olya and family provides the soundtrack to the mass murder of Sasha's rivals in retribution for Vladik's death.
Я не понял.
scene, the gangster film iconography collides with melodramatic iconography. Scene cross-cuts between two settings, the brightly lit concert hall, where Sasha and Olya enjoy classical music, and dark urban locations, where Sasha's foot soldiers eliminate his rivals. Inspired by the baptism scene in The Godfather, this episode underscores Sasha's inability to keep both lives separate and reinforces the sense of the protagonist's personal conflict. On the one hand, he is trying to enjoy evening out with his wife and demonstrates his commitment to her, while on the other hand, he is distracted by the ongoing battle he has put into motion. The scene is a climactic moment in the series when Sasha manages to control both his family life and his career. However, Hollywood-style cross-cutting establishes the visual and aural contrast, which foreshadow the inevitable destruction of his highly unstable social structure. While both narrative lines and genre models are instrumental in constructing Sasha's identity, the tension between them underscores the dramatic formation of the new Russian man. As the narrative approaches the denouement, two lines start converging. On the one side, the stable family space and the very lives of Olya and the child are under constant threat of violence. On the other side, Sasha's attempt to go legitimate and campaign for a seat in the Duma, the project in which both the Brigade and the family participate, suggests the possibility of a bloodless resolution to the conflict. While such a conflict-less resolution would fare well in Soviet-era film, Brigade opts for a dual and unhappy ending, melodrama providing the finalizing meaning. According to the conventions of the gangster film, the protagonist eventually has to self-destruct or be destroyed by the agents of the law. The conventions of Soviet melodrama required that the male protagonist relinquish his individual agency to the state while finding happiness in the nuclear family on state service. Alexei Sidorov chose the third option, the denouement of a Hollywood family melodrama. The filmmaker lets his protagonist preserve his individual agency and use it in order to sacrifice himself for his family. Most importantly, this family has nothing to do with the Russian state. At film's end, Olya and Ivan Belov flee Russia, literally separating the story of their family from the story of Russia. While the narrative model might be innovative for Russian storytelling, the question that the serial presents about the construction of post-Soviet masculinity are by no means new. Is there a space for individual male agency in Russian society? And is the only legitimate desire for a Russian man either to die for the state or for his family? Although Brigade does not explicitly answer these questions, the hybrid genre structure of the series opens up a space for further exploration on the impact of modernization on Russian masculinity agency in post-Soviet Russian society.
At the risk of pilfering, I want to say brava.
in which there is lives.
Thank you.